sure covered all the ground today.
And churches.
And tombs.
We saw the church of John the Baptist, we saw the church of Mary Magdalene, and we saw the church of St. Anne's.
We also saw where they're all buried. The garden tomb, the tomb of the prophets, the tomb of Lazarus, and the tomb of the Virgin Mary.
If I see another tomb, I think I'm going to die.
Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. We sure saw a lot of that city today. Wonder what Jesus would say if he could see it now.
I know what he'd say. My house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves.
But one thing's for sure, it won't always be that way. I remember a Sunday school memory verse from Jeremiah. At that time, they shall call Jerusalem the throne of Yahweh, and all nations shall be gathered unto it.
And for centuries, people have been trying to make it their throne instead of God's throne. Walls, wars, and wailing, and more walls, and more wars, and more wailing.
Jerusalem, the city of peace, it still has to live up to its name.
The Western Wall is nicknamed the Wailing Wall for a good reason, isn't it? If only these stones could talk, wouldn't they have a story to tell?
They sure would. Oh, looks like the bus is getting ready to leave.
Better get going, no rest for the weary.
I'm back. How many times have you been sat on?
2,052,665. And that's not counting birds and crawly things.
I remember the first time I was sat on. It was when I was first uncovered by the flood.
The Great Flood. Boy, that was long ago. We were sure rough around the edges back then. Speaking of the early days, women used to use me to make flour. Since I had a flat top, they would pound the wheat on me. Wheat kernels were everywhere, and so were the birds. And they couldn't fly away without first leaving a token of their appreciation. That's why I refused to count birds.
What else happened to us in those early days?
Remember all those years when we were plagued by the ites?
Oh yes, how could I forget? Canaanites, Hivites, Hittites, and the Jebusites.
Yes, the Jebusites. That's when Jerusalem really began to take shape. That's when we first met. We were side by side on the wall.
For hundreds of years after the Jebusites, we saw so much drama. The kings rising and falling, the walls rising and falling.
Do you remember the last time? The worst time the wall fell?
How could I forget? The war with Rome in AD 70. What a time of suspense. You never knew who you could trust.
You remember High Priest Ananias. The priests had grown angry at the Romans' lack of respect to their temple. The Romans had even mockingly burned unclean animals around the Jewish altars. What really caused the priests to revolt, though, was when that wicked Roman governor, Florus, used his army to force his way into the temple to steal from the Jewish treasury.
And then there was that evil John of Giscala. He was a man of great deception, and he desired nothing more than to be the leader of the Jewish rebellion. He pretended to be of the people's opinion and spoke strongly about the evils of the Roman government and the unjust taxation, but really he was a far worse tyrant than Rome.
And who could forget the Jewish captive Josephus? The Romans had captured him 2 years earlier and were quite pleased to have in prison the Jewish commander of all Galilee. Josephus was a priest by birth and had been commanded by the priests in Jerusalem to lead the rebellion in the north. Once captured, he became a favorite among the Romans for his intelligence and his ability to foresee how events would unfold.
Last of all, the great Roman commander Titus, son of the newly appointed Roman Emperor Vespasian. Titus had worked alongside his father for 2 years fighting the Jews in Galilee. Vespasian, now needing to return to Rome to claim the throne, leaves Titus to finish the war with express orders to take Jerusalem quickly in order to secure his popularity among the Romans.
Soldier, bring me that Jewish prisoner Josephus. Ah, Josephus. You know as well as I do what a long, drawn-out war will mean for your people and for my army. I need your help, Josephus. You know the land, you know the city, and you know the people. We need your help.
You'd like me to betray my own people, my own heritage?
No, Josephus. You know that we have no intention of causing any unnecessary hardship. Your zealots are causing more damage than we are these days. Robbers run freely, terrorizing any town without a Roman garrison. Your temple is being desecrated daily by those unholy men. Help me to succeed quickly. Your people will listen to you more than they will listen to any of us. Help them to see they cannot hope to win against the great Roman Empire.
When do we leave?
Soldier! I have orders to be delivered immediately. We break camp and we head for Jerusalem at dawn.
Yes, my lord.
Oh, man. I was always being used as a bench.
Better that than a wine press.
Or a bake oven.
Threshing floor?
Or a rooster perch.
The bake oven?
I already said that.
A rock for a catapult.
Haha. Remember our friend who was used during the siege of Jerusalem? He never was quite the same. You could say he was a broken man.
Yes. Well, getting back to our stroll down memory lane, with the Roman army heading south, many fanatics and zealots, including John of Giscala, came from all around the countryside to Jerusalem to make one last stand against the Romans.
This brought no end of grief to High Priest Annas, who still held out a hope that he would be able to make a deal with peace with the Romans.
Oh, look, the high priest. I wonder what he has to say.
You must see that negotiations with the Romans is our only hope of survival. We have made a stand, and Rome have taken notice. Now let us talk, and work out an agreement of peace. No more corrupt governors.
There is no use making a deal with the Romans! The time for talking is over!
Yeah!
We must beat them!
And so the tension inside Jerusalem grew to a climax, until one evening, John took advantage of a terrible storm to help him destroy Annas and the priests. With Annas gone, he was free to rule Jerusalem as a dictator and make his stand against Rome.
Yeah!
And so Jerusalem, once again, in its long history, came under direct assault. Vespasian had long put off a direct attack on Jerusalem because it was built like a fortress, and he feared the loss of many troops. With surprising speed, the Romans were able to break down the outer walls of the city in just 23 days.
George!
As Titus advanced through the city, he ordered that no Jews caught in the assault be put to death, and their homes were not to be destroyed. The battle then turned into a stalemate when the Romans reached the enormous third wall. Not only was it 60 feet high, it was 15 feet thick.
Josephus, come. You must go and talk to them. Help them to see the uselessness of fighting.
Men of Jerusalem, please listen to what I have to say.
Traitor! Lover of Gentile dogs!
What does he have to say? Perhaps Titus is willing to negotiate.
Never! We'll never negotiate with the Romans.
I heard a rumor that all the Jews in the outer part of the wall were given their freedom, better than what we have under these tyrants.
Yes, Rome wants peace with us Jews.
How can you even call yourself a Jew? Saving yourself by sacrificing your men? Yes.
Titus offers free passage to all those that want to leave. If you stop fighting, he'll be merciful. Surrender now.
No! We will never surrender. Don't listen to him. He is a Roman slave.
Yeah.
These are the murderers of your loved ones. If anyone so much as breathes a word of surrender, it will be death for them and their whole families.
Nicanor!
Boyden! If it's the war that you want, I'll give you a war! Men, cut down every tree from 10 miles around. Start building those siege towers.
The Romans are letting Jewish pilgrims into the city for Passover, but they're not letting them leave, or stretch as far as our food resources will allow. People are starting to feel the effects of the siege. More and more, I hear whispers of surrendering to the Romans.
No! No! Find those cowards and get rid of them! Simon, you know the food stockpile in the temple?
Yeah.
Burn it all!
All right.
Now!
Yes! That's the food for the whole city for a year!
There is too much talk of surrender. We must make the people fight.
Yes.
We must make the people fight.
And so the people inside the city groaned and prayed the Romans might come and deliver them from the bloodthirsty zealots.
The siege tower Titus commanded his men to be built created new worries inside the city walls. John led his men in a bold and desperate attempt to destroy the towers with fire by digging tunnels under the third wall.
is on fire!
The zealots watched with relief as the siege towers burned down to the ground.
Ah! I can't believe it! They've destroyed my towers! I have 1/4 of the entire Roman army sitting outside the walls of the city of Jerusalem, and I've been stopped by a mere handful of Jews!
Sir, let's throw everything we can at attacking them. They will only be able to hold off for so long.
No, it's not going to work. We lose too many men for it to seem like a victory for Rome.
Sir, a siege won't work either. They're still getting too many supplies into the city. It's too large of an area to monitor the whole perimeter.
Ah! I've got an idea. Why don't we use these old stones? Let's put this army to work, Josephus. Let's start building this wall. How big will it need to be?
Well, around 4.5 miles around. But you want to dig a trench first, then build up the wall. You'll use half the materials, and it'll still be high enough.
Good, excellent. Men, you've got your orders. Gather these old stones together and start building that wall. I want it done by the end of the week. And if you catch anyone trying to escape between these walls, I want them to be held prisoner.
With the completion of a new wall around the city in just 3 days, no supplies could get in or out. Food supplies dwindled to the point where people would eat anything that might help to sustain life. Hay, belts, and shoes. The zealots ran uncontrolled through the city, taking food right from people's mouths. As Christ had warned, this would be a time of great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever would be.
With thousands dying each day in the city, Titus looked on in dismay that the zealots still refused to surrender. When witnessing the mounds of dead bodies dumped over the city walls, he reached up his hands towards heaven.
I call God to witness that this is not my doing!
Sir, please may I go talk to them one last time. My wife, my parents. They're still in the city. Please let me go talk to them.
Yes, Josephus, you may go.
Men and brethren, think not only of your own lives. Think of your wives. Think of your children. If you surrender now, we can have peace. The city, the temple. Caesar will spare it all.
We have no fear of captivity. Jerusalem is the city of God. He will protect us.
But what if he doesn't? Does that mean that he has forsaken this city because of the wickedness of you zealots?
What?
This city is going to be given over by God to destruction. Surrender now.
Never!
It was that very night that the same tunnels dug by the zealots to burn the siege towers caused the third wall to weaken.
Rising early in the morning to lead his men into battle, Titus gave strict orders concerning the temple that it should be spared. It was to be a gift to his father, the emperor.
General! The temple! The temple is on fire! No! Get the treasures! Get the treasures out of the temple!
After the Romans captured Jerusalem and the temple, Titus ordered the remains of the temple to be razed to the ground, and thus fulfilled the words of Christ, "There shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." He then left his army in Jerusalem and returned to Rome to present the spoils of war to his father.
Vespasian held a grand parade through the streets of Rome, where the glories of the temple and the captured zealot leader, John of Giscala, were put on display in celebration of Rome's victory over the Jews.
Titus! My son! What a victory you have wrought for Rome this day! 7. Bring me the victory.
No, Father, please. There is no merit in vanquishing a people forsaken by their own God.
As you wish, my son. Now, let me tell you of my plans for the spoils of the Jewish temple. There, for all the world to see, a monument, so that the world will never forget Rome's victory over the Jews. It will be built by the sweat of Jewish slaves. It will be paid for out of the treasury of the temple. And it shall be called the Colosseum of Rome!
Jerusalem fell down again.
And here we have sat for 2,000 years, through the Dark Ages, the Crusades, and the Byzantine empires.
But now the Jews have retaken Jerusalem.
And as history has shown, that whenever the Israelites are in Jerusalem, the wall is rebuilt. We seem to rise and fall with the spiritual state of Israel.
Sure isn't spiritual now.
But it will again, and soon, when all the kings of the earth will bring their honor and glory to Jerusalem, rather than stripping it away.
And all those who are written in the Lamb's book of life will enter in.
So let us pray for the peace of Jerusalem.